What's happening, guys? So back with another reverse diet update. This is actually going to be about a 2-week, it's actually more like about a week and a half update, which I'll explain here in a minute. But where we left off was at the end of week 3, the start of week 4, which, as I mentioned in my previous video, that whole week, or at least those first 4 or 5 days of that week, was going to be spent in Vegas, where I wasn't going to be tracking. I was going to be enjoying the experience and enjoying being with friends and not worrying about it, enjoying some extra foods, knowing that I'd get a lot of activity, knowing I might be up in a little bit of weight, but it probably wouldn't be too bad. And that's called life balance right there. So anyway, what ended up happening is I came back and I was up about a pound. All right, so I left at 166, came back, averaged 167.1 the first couple days. 167.2 was the average for the next 3 days, which came to my normal check-in. So up about a pound, right? Not bad, I'll take it. Now, what I ended up doing was checking in. As I expected, Paul didn't make any changes, all right? So I hadn't really been following macros and my weight was up a little bit, so there was really no need to make any changes. You know, you can't really change what isn't happening, right? So that's kind of one of the things that I like to talk to people about with the reverse, when they don't get changes one week and they'll say, well, why am I not getting changes? Well, you didn't really hit your macros last week, right? Things were pretty far off, so we don't really know what's happening, what's going on with the body, so why make some changes right now? Now, sometimes we will, sometimes we won't, always depends on a lot of different factors. But anyway, he told me, let's hold steady, check back in 3 or 4 more days, and we'll see where things are at. And unless you're actually losing weight in that process, then check in a little bit sooner. So I waited till Monday, so it was Thursday to Monday, so I waited 4 days. Weight has actually spiked on me pretty consistently. It's been coming up here. And I ended up weighing on average for those 4 days 168.9. So a lot of people will see that and think, okay, too many calories, I'm gaining a bunch of weight, I need to back off. It's too aggressive at this point, all right? Well, there's a few things we have to factor in here. One, my reverse diet isn't like a normal reverse diet in terms of people who are just trying to improve their metabolism, have a long history of dieting, trying to get into a better spot. All right, I am actually going into a building phase now. All right, this is bodybuilding standards. I'm trying to get out of low body fats, start feeling better, get the body fat up a little bit, start the building process. So I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive, or he's going to be a little bit more aggressive with me than we would like a typical just kind of general fitness, just trying to get in better shape kind of a person, right? So the other thing to keep in mind is I had started a new training program this week too. So I went from a deload to a new training program, beat myself up pretty bad. I am pretty tired, I'm pretty sore, gonna be holding more inflammation because of that. That's gonna cause a spike on the scale. My sodium levels were higher than usual, also gonna cause a spike on the scale. So we always have to take a step back and go, okay, just because the scale's up doesn't mean I'm getting super fat, right? And at the same time, for me personally, I don't mind a little bit of extra fat right now because we're literally trying to get me to put on a little bit of fat and get into a better spot, just in general, right? And we're trying to build, so we're trying to be a little bit more aggressive. So even with that being said, right, I expected with this check-in for him to say, okay, you're gaining, it's reasonable, let's just go ahead and hold here. This is where I was actually surprised. He wants to make another increase, right? So he told me to add 15 grams of carbs to my daily totals. So that's about a 60 calorie increase. So that brings me from 2,728 calories, I'll put this on the screen here as well, up to 2,788. And from the start of my reverse to now, that's an increase of 547 calories in 5 weeks. So that's still pretty aggressive. But we also have to keep in mind too, all right? So even though I'm gaining a little bit more in the last couple of weeks, if we look at the big picture, all right, I started at 167, I'm now 168.9, which is probably inflated. So I've only gained less than 2 pounds, probably realistically around a pound, but even if it's a 1.9 pounds, that's 1.9 pounds in 5 weeks, even though I'm up a couple in the last 2 weeks. We have to keep everything in perspective and not just only look at week-to-week basis, all right? And that goes for everybody too. Like, we have to look at trends and patterns and not get caught up in just any singular week, any singular day, all right? We always have to think big picture. So that's why it's about a week and a half, right? Because that first week was a little bit off, had an early check-in this week, so that's where we are at this point. You know, some of his reasonings, he was talking about, okay, like I just mentioned, we want to be a little bit more aggressive here. We want to get into the building process and we want to get that kick-started a little bit. Plus, he's suspecting that even with this increase, as my body starts to adapt here, I might even see a little dip in the scale coming up here. And this is where I have to put my faith in him. This is why we hire coaches, because we can't be objective with ourselves, right? If it was me, there's no way I would have increased calories. And especially for a more general population person, I definitely wouldn't. All right, we wouldn't want to be quite as aggressive. All right, let's let the body adapt a little bit before we make increases. He's saying, hey, your body fat is lower. All right, you're still really lean, or you're trying to get into a building phase. There's a lot of different things that happen metabolically and hormonally when we're in this stage. So let's be aggressive. Let's force that body to adapt. So that's what we're going to do, and we'll see what happens. You got to trust the process. So there's a lot of things that come into play here. And another thing you have to keep in mind, especially for me now being relatively lean, and I'm leaner than I've ever been in my life now that I'm coming out of it, we got to remember that anytime we're done dieting, even if you're not that super lean in terms of like actual body fat percentages, when you've been dieting for a long time and you've lost a lot of weight, there's going to be a lot of changes that happen hormonally and metabolically during the process. And for me personally, I'm actually doing a heck of a lot better now, but the last few days prior to today, I had a nice rest day yesterday, literally did almost nothing, just sat around, just chilled at home. It was a nice just kind of break from all the craziness and got some much needed recovery, but I was really tired, really sore, a little bit agitated still kind of cranky, still beat up and just overall fatigued. That really helped, but we have to keep in mind, like a lot of times we say, okay, you need to listen to the body, all right? Listen to the body because the body tells you what you need. That doesn't really apply for somebody who's been dieting for a long time, all right? That doesn't necessarily apply ever. I mean, sometimes, yes, we need to listen, sometimes we need to tell the body to shut up, right? But if we try to listen to our body coming out of a dieting phase, you're going to gain weight really fast. All right, the body is signaling everything that it can. It's trying to do everything it possibly can to get back to where it was. All right, it wants you to gain fat. All right, it wants you to go through and eat more. It's trying to tell you to do this. All right, the body has this kind of body fat set point that it's trying to keep you at. You're below that. It's trying to get you back up again. So a lot of things happen. Like, so take me for instance here. My hunger has actually been a lot better lately. I'm not that hungry, but what I am finding is, even though I'm not hungry, I still really want to eat. That probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but let's just say, for instance, we have dinner, I eat what I planned on eating, I'm done. I'm not physically hungry, but I still want to eat. Like, I want to eat more, even though I'm not that hungry. Like, I just want to keep eating. And I'm finding that with almost every meal at this point. I just want to keep eating, even though I'm not like sitting there like, oh man, I'm so hungry. That's not the case. I just want to eat, all right? And that's probably because leptin is lower, all right? Leptin is one of the, it has a lot of functions, but one of the functions of leptin is to tell you that you're full, right? When you diet, leptin drops, right? So your leptin levels are lower, you don't feel as full, all right? So the body's signaling to me to keep eating, even though I really don't need to keep eating, all right? So this is where we got to be careful, all right? Ghrelin raises. Ghrelin is the hunger hormone. So you have one hormone that's telling you that you're hungrier. You have one hormone that's telling you that you're not full. Can you see how big of a disaster that can be? And you can see why it's so easy to gain weight post-diet, right? Between your hormones being out of whack, between you mentally being in a difficult place, your metabolic rate has dropped because of all the dieting that you've done. So you're maintaining on lower calories than usual, and now you have all these things telling you to overeat. If you do that, you gain weight really fast because you're maintaining on low calories. You way overeat, the weight shoots back up, and your metabolism doesn't come back up like body fat can come on really fast. Metabolism does not improve that fast. So it's really easy to overshoot, and that's why you got to be really careful when you think about your post-diet eating strategy. This is something that almost nobody thinks about, is the post-diet eating, all right? We just think about what do we need to do to lose the weight, then we lose the weight, and then we just kind of like don't know where to go from here, and we end up just going crazy and getting all the weight back because we didn't have a good implementation of any type of dieting to get through that phase and go through a good reverse diet and make sure that you don't overeat. All right, the post-diet phase is pretty much as important, if not more important, than the dieting phase if you want to maintain what you lost. All right, now keep in mind that's for general population. For me, I'm not trying to maintain it anymore. All right, I'm trying to literally increase my body weight now because I'm trying to build some more muscle. I'm doing this for bodybuilding purposes. So this video that you're watching, or this series that you're watching, is going to be a little bit more aggressive than it normally would be for someone who's just trying to improve their metabolism and live a healthier lifestyle, right? It's a little bit different, right? You won't be trying to gain, so you'll probably be a little bit less aggressive, right? Got to just kind of keep all that stuff in mind. Everything always depends on each individual, their genetics, their their preferences and their lifestyle and all that different stuff. It all kind of comes into play, but I'm just trying to shoot this series so you can see kind of how the process works. So that's my updates for week 4 and 5-ish. I will do another update after this next week goes by and update you on that week. Any questions about this, please let me know, and I will talk to you later.
I'm addicted to the love that you're giving. Every minute, every day I've been craving.